Alright, what is going on guys? It's Tazz here, and welcome back to the channel. Now today what I've got for you guys is my first dedicated Assassin's Creed video here on the channel. Assassin's Creed is a franchise that I have been a massive fan of for years, picking up every new release within the launch window and completely immersing myself into the historic time period of the current game. Some of my favorites in the series would have to be AC3, 2, and Black Flag. I think these games represent the pinnacle of gameplay and storytelling from Ubisoft and for the AC franchise, and since these games I just haven't felt the same about any of the newer releases. Unity has however grown on me quite a bit over the years. A big chunk of people do actually love the direction the series took with Origins and beyond, but that's where AC almost started to fall off a bit for me. The shift from the classic gameplay of Assassin's Creed to a more RPG loot and level grind focused game with Origins and Odyssey was not my favorite by any means, but Ubisoft's for the most part consistently engaging storytelling throughout these games is really what kept me coming back for more and more, and I've probably put around 100 hours into each of the most recent AC titles. And that brings us to the latest release, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. It's been a couple of years since the last AC game, which I commend Ubisoft for shifting away from that annual release schedule in order to spend more time perfecting each game. Activision? Valhalla is of course set during the era of Vikings, where you can choose to play as either the male or female version of Eivor, a Viking who crosses paths with the Hidden Ones, and throughout the game we'll learn what it means to be a true assassin. And from what I've played so far, at about 10 hours in, I have to say this may be my favorite of the modern era of AC games, and I could easily see myself putting another 100 plus hours into this one, just messing around as a Viking, raiding and pillaging to my heart's content. All of the gameplay you guys are seeing within this video was recorded on PC at high settings, and I'm honestly shocked at how well the 1070 is holding up with this new release. If I tried to stream it, that would probably be a different story however. But with that said, on a PC at high settings, I'm getting a steady 60 FPS pretty much most of the time, sometimes a little bit lower, sometimes a little bit higher, but the world itself looks absolutely breathtaking. Year after year, landscapes in Assassin's Creed absolutely blow me away, and this game is no different. From the snowy mountains of Norway to the rolling green hills of England, there's no shortage of stellar visuals here in Valhalla. From what I've seen and heard, Valhalla looks and plays exceptionally well on next gen, but personally I'm going to wait a while before upgrading because with my PC right now for games, it's kind of unnecessary to upgrade. But if you guys have played it on a next gen console or a 3000 series GPU, let me know what it's like over there. Aside from a small problem with a loading screen that I was able to troubleshoot relatively quickly and a couple of stutters here and there, things have been pretty smooth sailing for me over here on the PC. As for the story and gameplay so far, I was messing around so much that it took me about 5 hours to get to the title card, which I guess is just a testament to how much there really is to see and do in this game, even at its early stages. At this point, I've played for a little over 10 hours in total so far, and without going into detail or spoiler territory, the story has been super fun and engaging. The game can also get pretty mystical and trippy at points, which I am totally down for, and I do also love all of the Norse mythology. I did also have quite a bit of fun with the Animus Rift that was pretty close to the settlement, and I'm actually kind of invested in the present day for the first time since AC3. There's also some really cool Desmond quotes and callbacks to past games if you look through the computer files in the present day segment, which I did also love to see. The leveling does feel better, still kind of grindy, but fortunately there isn't any content that I've come across so far that is level gated as heavily as Odyssey, which is definitely a lifesaver. Side missions and world events are actually very enjoyable this time around. They're not too long, but are great little world building side quests. The customization with hair and tattoos is really cool, and the gear and weapon system overhaul is a lot better than it has been in the past couple of games. Skills, abilities, and upgrades feel much more rewarding, and new weapons and gear are a lot more scarce, which makes finding new stuff that much more important. There are so many gameplay and graphical options within the settings menu, which is always great to see, as well as photo mode does make its return, and any game with a photo mode gets automatic bonus points in my book. Valhalla also improves quite a bit in its RPG elements as well, giving much improved dialogue options which allow for some pretty great interactions between your Eivor and the many characters you will encounter throughout the world. And speaking of Eivor, he or she, depending on who you choose to play as, and can change whenever you'd like, is a much welcomed improvement on Alexios and Cassandra, who didn't have defined personalities due to all of the dialogue options. But here you can tailor your version of Eivor to be the way you want, without going totally off the path as to how you would think the character would act. As for the negatives, the stealth is still a bit janky sometimes. It is also another grindy game, but at least it's not super side mission heavy so far. There are some stutters that I have experienced here on PC. The combat is also still not where I'd like it to be, but the assassinations are much better than they were in the past game. I think my biggest gripe here with Valhalla is the same issue that I've had with the last two Assassin's Creed games, Origins and Odyssey, and that is the fact that it just still doesn't completely feel like an Assassin's Creed game. This time it just feels more like a Viking simulator with a hidden blade. But I mean, who knows, I am only 10 hours into the game so far, so maybe my mind could be changed the further I get into the story, but as it stands right now, even with the Hidden Blade returned and the ability to interact with people via social stealth and pull up your hood whenever you would like, it just still does not feel like the classic Assassin's Creed games that I know and love. Even with that said, I do feel like the combat is much improved from the last couple of games. There are some very cool kill animations, which I absolutely love, but I just don't think it's where it should be for an AC game. So it is nice that Ubisoft did kind of try to tailor to us classic fans with re-adding social stealth and the hidden blade and all of that, but even with that here in the game, it still is kind of hard to make it feel like a classic AC game. Especially when the map is still the way it is, way too vast and not enough dense city areas unfortunately, but even with that, the landscapes are still beautiful, even just on high settings here on my PC. And finally, there's no way to avoid it, you knew it would come to this, microtransactions are back in Valhalla with Helix credits and shop items, but it's honestly no worse off than it was back in Odyssey. If you want to buy some cool cosmetic gear to upgrade and use in-game, there's no issue with that. I've done it in the past with Odyssey and will probably drop even more money here with Valhalla, but the issue here is with the time savers. Maps to reveal certain collectible icons on the map and resources to help you progress further much quicker than the average player. At the moment, it doesn't seem like these things are super necessary, unlike the XP boost in Odyssey, so I guess we will just have to wait and see as people progress throughout the game to see if more of these time savers are really a pay to win or just a little shortcut. All in all, with many familiar elements from Origins and Odyssey present here in Valhalla, it is an improvement in almost every way on the modern-era Assassin's Creed games. It is able to combine that with aspects of the classic games that many longtime fans of the series will love. So while I may not be the biggest fan of an RPG-focused Assassin's Creed game, it more than makes up for that with its stunning visuals, engaging stories both in the Animus and out, and the gameplay cycle of combat, stealth, collectibles, great callbacks to past entries, and fun side content that makes this one of the best AC games in recent memory. And while it may not stack up quite as well against some of my favorites in the franchise, it is a great entry into the new style of AC games, and I highly recommend picking this up if you are upgrading to a next-gen console or have a PC that can run it on at least high settings to take full advantage of the beautiful visuals and higher frame rates. So with that said, I'm eager to hop back into Valhalla, and I want to know what you guys think about all of this down there in the comments below. If you picked up AC Valhalla, what do you think of the game so far? What platform are you playing it on? And if you haven't gotten it just yet, do you plan on picking it up soon, or are you waiting for a sale? Let me know your thoughts on all of this down there in the comments below. But until next time guys, it's been Tazz, and I'll see you guys in the next video.